Jeremy Swayman has once again spoken out about the Boston Bruins and the city of Boston, further confirming that he is going to be a Bruin next season. I'm going to be talking about that, as well as a report outside of the Bruins organization that is actually going to help solidify Jeremy Swayman as a Boston Bruin. And finally, we're going to be talking about James Van Riemsdyk and how many people are getting desperate and calling him a potential PTO option for the Boston Bruins here in this offseason. Before we get into all of this news that we have here today, though, we have a word from our sponsor, Fume. This video is sponsored by Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that draws flavor into your mouth. Fume fills the void that ditching a bad habit can leave. That means you still have something to reach for. The big thing here is Fume is not a vape. It has no vapor, no nicotine, non-toxic flavors, no batteries, and it simply does just look awesome and feels very, very high quality. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code DIGEST to get your free topper, and it's a perfect accessory for your Fume device. All you gotta do is slip it onto the mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. And for those who like to fidget, it's chewable, and it's also reusable, which is absolutely awesome. So if you like the sound of all of that, head to tryfume.com. That is tryfume.com, and use my code DIGEST, or you can also use the QR code on the screen. And with your purchase of the Journey Pack, you will get a free topper, which is absolutely awesome. So thank you, Fume, for sponsoring this video. And without any further ado, let's get into our first topic here of this video, which is James Van Riemsdyk. And it really does seem like many people are getting desperate and calling him the best possible option for the Boston Bruins right now. And I know we've had multiple potential players that the Bruins could have signed, could have tried out in a PTO, and maybe even could have traded for, that were far exceeding this point in their careers from James Van Riemsdyk. And we know Van Riemsdyk, he done the team last year, had some success here and there, but really did slow down at the end of the season, but had a sneaky playoffs, I guess we could say. But from ultimately reports of, Patrick Laine, one that just so happened to be a Montreal Canadian now and was very much not going to happen from a Boston Bruins standpoint, to just about any player you can really think of that was at least a free agent at this point. Many people were expecting something bigger, but we know with the Jeremy Swayman contract that is bound to happen soon. The salary cap the Bruins currently have, with that extension coming soon, the Bruins don't really have too many options that they could potentially go after in free agency or even sign to a PTO. So as for JVR, this is what we have here in the first bit. However, it wouldn't hurt for the Bruins to have an experienced NHLer at camp in the event that the prospects do not look ready. One clear PTO target they should consider bringing back is James Van Riemsdyk. And, I reported on this as well, the possibilities of this, what we have, and more articles coming out about this make it seem that more likely a possibility we may see that he does come back to this team. Although James Van Riemsdyk isn't the biggest, hype player I guess we could have, he certainly does fill that role that the Bruins would need. He kind of is that extra forward that could certainly work out in any position. But as I mentioned as well, the PTO is an excellent option for players who really don't have that role locked up yet, to have a bit of competition, to make them work harder to get that role, knowing that's not going to be given to them. And in this case, Fabian Lysell, Georgi Merkulov, any of those players that can make this roster, they need to work hard for it. It's not going to be given to them, knowing that Van Riemsdyk was also on the team last year. But for that role, we know Van Riemsdyk can fill that if need be, and can actually, strive in that whole position. And this is what really we could see from JVR this season if he does become a Boston Bruin once again. Ultimately, with the Bruins needing a bit more depth on the wing, it would not hurt to take another look at Van Riemsdyk on the PTO. If he had a strong camp and earned a cheap one-year deal, he would once again provide a solid secondary offensive production and the power play option. And even this season, you really can't complain too much of how James Van Riemsdyk played for the position he was in. Only 13 minutes on average time on ice, but 38 points in 71 games, a majority of that coming at the beginning of the season. I believe he only had 1 point where he was even held pointless in the last 20 games of the season, and then 5 points in 11 games in the playoffs. His production at the age of 35, although it's not what it was in the prime of his career, it's still there for that kind of role that he will have. So if it does come down to this, the prospects don't seem to be ready, maybe something occurs in that, maybe an injury here or there, James Van Riemsdyk does seem like an all-right option, but people calling him the top option for the Bruins right now still just seems like a really big reach to me, and still seems like a bit of desperation push for that. But let me know what you think in the comments. But let's move on to our second topic here of this video, which is a pretty perfect opportunity for the Bruins. And this is what I was talking about in the intro, discussing how Jeremy Swayman's contract is still under negotiation, and that's the center of attention right now in the NHL regarding contracts, goalies, everything. All you're hearing is Jeremy Swayman, Jeremy Swayman, Jeremy Swayman. And now we have a bit of more interesting news outside of the Bruins organization that will actually help the Bruins sign Swayman in a much easier term, in my opinion. I will discuss this and why this could be the reason in a moment, but I'll pull this up and read here this tweet from Kevin Weeks. I'm told that goalie prospect Yaroslav Askarov has informed the Predators he will not report to the AHL team and has requested a trade. And we know, although Jeremy Swayman is an RFA, there still is potential teams that could try and go after him. And what I'm going to discuss later as well, Jeremy Swayman still has to sign that contract with another team, although right now that seems impossible, given what he has said about Boston, the city of Boston, his teammates, the community, everything. So this does give other teams an option to kind of look away from Swayman if they were looking to go for an RFA, sign him, trade for his rights or something by some means. That would be pretty much impossible, but this is going to give the Bruins a bit more of a secluded area to kind of talk in this contract negotiation and not give them this whole pressure from around the NHL, teams around watching Jeremy Swayman's movements and contract situation. So having this possibility, having this happen, having this play out for the Boston Bruins being indirect, it's going to work out very well in my mind. Just kind of take the pressure off both of these parties for a little bit and, kind of ease the tension, I guess we could say, between the NHL community and the contract that's going to be on the table. But that's only going to be further, looked at as well with what Jeremy Swayman had to say. And that's what we're going to move on to here now. Is he speaking once again on the Bruins community, on Boston, everything that we want to hear from Jeremy Swayman is coming out now after many reports of things not being close. I think he really wants to reassure us, reassure fans and the city of Boston that he's not going anywhere. And we're going to pull up the first quote that he has here, kind of discussing really what more he had to put into his opinion. The biggest thing that I wanted to accomplish this summer was to get some really good training in and just be able to tap into the community as much as possible. And this interview came from, I believe on Sunday, the triathlon that he competed in. And, once again, another very good example of him being in the community, taking part of the community, doing whatever, and even, adding to his training, adding to his physicality that he wants to get up. It's going to be a good sight to see, and especially when we do see this for much longer. And as you can see right here, Jeremy Swayman on the bike in the triathlon looks ready to go for the season, if you ask me. I might be a bit biased, but he looks ready, and we can only wait for that to see and come more into reality once this contract is finalized. But that's not all he had to say. He also had this to say, continuing on in this interview. I know that if I want to be an elite level goalie, I need to train year round at an elite level. And Boston has that. It's provided me with incredible off-ice facilities. Being able to tap into that and more every year has made me feel more ingrained in this community. And as I mentioned, I think this is just Jeremy Swayman reassuring us that he's not going anywhere, especially with that report from Elliotte Friedman saying that the contract still is far apart from what he knows. And Swayman knows that may be the case, but he believes in the agent, he believes in the team, things will get done, and he wants to stay. So, once again, another very, very big ease off our shoulders, kind of knowing that Jeremy Swayman is reassuring us that this is going to work out. There's no need to worry. But that's all I got in this video. Thank you again, Fume, for sponsoring this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button. But I'm signing out. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.